you know, when I went to run for mayor 6 months ago, all my team here, they said, well, you know, they're going to dig up
Of
your dark
course.
past. And
Right.
I was like, well, most of it's on my films, you know? And so
Right.
it's funny now when you see me, I'm in the newspapers now and it says, you know, breakdancing, ex-banker, you know, former heroin addict, you know, Brian Rose. And like, it's in every single headline or byline is
Yeah.
that stuff. And I'm okay with that. Let's talk about that. You know,
Right.
let's be real. There's no one at the top that hasn't gone through struggles and personal demons. And again, feelings of inadequacy and it's stuff that you even talked about. We see you on stage, pow, 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 but we don't know that sometimes even the most beautiful people on stage and on Hollywood screens
Sure.
sometimes suffer the most, right, from those insecurities, right?
Right. Brian, of course they're going to do that, right? But I don't believe in cutting somebody else's backyard, right? But I guarantee you, if you dig deep into the current mirror, you'll find, interesting things, if not worse. It's not about it's not about the hard things that we went through in life. The common denominator, and I think what should resonate with the Brits there is the common denominator is everyone has been through some dark, ugly times. Therefore, that makes you perfect because you've been honest with them. You haven't hid from them. Even before you probably had ideals of running for mayor, you are already being honest. So it's not like, as they're trying to do this quote unquote smear campaign, it's not like you prepared like, oh, I'm going to out myself first before they do. This is just who you are. And, for everyone there in Great Britain, I think they should understand that, hey, this man is brutally honest. And you know what? He's just like us. He's went through ups and downs and so on. So there's a common denominator in that he can speak for us instead of someone who hides behind cloak and dagger, or we don't know the darkness or whatever he's been through, or just not even darkness, just trials and tribulations. I hate, I don't like equating my color with negativity,
Yeah.
so I'm just going to say, the ups and downs, because we all
Yeah.
have been through ups and downs, and it's it's a sliding ruler. So I don't think that's a negative thing. They can try to smear or bring that up as much as you want. I think you should spin that as a positive thing because, yeah, I'm of the people and for the people. I'm one of you, and I want to speak for you, unlike someone else who acts like they're so pristine and so high and mighty that they can't come down and like I see you. I watch your videos. You come and you talk to the common people. You're
Yeah.
not so uppity where you need that, and all that stuff. So, this isn't, I get it. This isn't about, me help campaigning you for mayor and everything. Like I just got to be brutally honest. Anybody who followed me or watched my show on you, that's just me. I'm just being brutally honest about that.
Yeah, I think the press and the political parties don't know what to do with me because, again, first of all, I've got these digital platforms to where I can already connect with millions of people, which they're not used
Right.
to. Actually, I think it was Flex. I think 1.7 million Londoners knew who I was out of 9.5 before it even started, which is kind of new for a mayor. Then they
Mm,
see this guy in the suits with an American accent, but yet I'm willing to go down and shake hands and talk to anybody on the streets. And I've gone, I think over 5,000 miles, we've driven our bus basically to every single borough of London. There's 32 areas of London. And I've been down there and people are like, oh, we didn't expect you were going to be here talking to
right.
us, hanging out with
Right.
us, listening to our problems. So they're starting to figure out who I am. And I guess like everyone in this world, people aren't who you think they are. They're not what they look like. They're not what they seem. Everyone has that three dimensionality to them. And
Sure.
so I'm out there just trying to listen to people and trying to find out what are you struggling with? What are you challenged with? And every person's different. Every area of the city's different.
Sure.
And I think the mayor's job is he has two jobs. The mayor just has two simple jobs: to listen and to serve, and then
Mm,
to listen and to serve. And so I'm really naive when it comes to this. And I think is one of my greatest assets is because I don't know how it's supposed to work. I don't belong to a party. I don't have donors from corporates. I'm just like, if I was going to do this job the best I could, how would I do it? I would do it
right.
this way. So I spent like 8 months researching all the problems of London. I feel like I got a PhD in the London's problems. And all these people behind the scenes have felt kind of my energy and they want to help. That's the weird part.
Right.
I got senior police officers that want to help me, people from the transport department, people from Parliament. So it's been almost a beautiful thing, Flex. And just to see there's really good people out there that want
Yeah.
the best for their city. And I see what's happening in America. There's a lot of people fighting, like there's Team A versus Team B, and it seems like it's becoming almost like a war. And we're not there yet in London, but I want to make sure we don't. And I just want to go out to everybody and say, you know what? We all want the same thing. We all want what's best for our kids. We all want to. We
Yeah.
all love this city. Let's just do the right things. And I think people kind of feel that. But
Yeah.
it's been interesting. It's been a real interesting
Yeah.
learning experience.
That's the common denominator around the entire world. I've traveled the world, you know, I've been blessed to travel the world for the last, geez, like 3 decades. And, you know, when I went to Russia just a couple of years ago, obviously, you know, that's very interesting for me to go in these times. And that was my third trip. And, you know, I went to Red Square and I just hung out, you know, with my translator. And I had people from so many different ages up to in their 80s and 90s just sit down and shake my hand and just say, thank you so much for coming. You know, thank you for not just buying into all the preliminary BS. And they sat there and they would just tell me their story. I've always been so interested in Russia because, like England, it's the beginning of time, you know, of civilization. And, you know, it was very interesting because the common denominator was these people aren't of the government, of all the BS, of all the games that you have to play and everything like that. So I think it's you know, again, it's an interesting thing that you're doing that because you don't have to be involved. You're not a part of that, you know, quote unquote game playing and everything like that. And same with India, you know, going into you know, just the rough areas of India, the slums, and I did a tour there. And just, you know, you hear about all this negative things and this, that, and the other, but just some of the most beautifulest people in the world. You know, obviously they're extremely poor and have a really, really rough life. But it really cut me to the core because I'm walking through there and I'm watching kids running around either in their diapers, no shoes or no pants, and all they did was smile and just wanted to just touch me and smile. And I'm like, oh my God, you know, you can't. They might be poor as far as wealth, but man, they are rich as far as love and beauty. And just to find out that, you know, in that the slumlords, I forgot, it's hundreds of millions of dollars that they put back into the economy because of all the work they do there. So you can't judge a book by its cover. And same thing when I went to South Africa. I went to South Africa in a very, very heated time back in '97. And I really had to sit there when I was invited and say, you know, do I want to go, you know, based on everything I heard and you know, the whole craziness that's been going on with quote unquote, the country where my ancestors came from. Um, and from my traveling and everything, I just said, you know, what are the chances that everything I hear, just like the government and United States, is not all true? What if it's, you know, a bunch of BS and smoke and mirrors? So, you know, from the Tom Cruise movie, I said, you know, I'm just going to go with my eyes wide shut, you know, so just no thought, eyes big as hell, and no predisposition of anything. So yes, I traveled from one end of South Africa all the way to the other end over a week's period of time in a car. And I
And
got to see the beauties and the uglies of it, but the common denominator, again, thank you for this great technology. Yeah. All
right.
right. My dog here keeps knocking over the. Okay, say hi so we can get it over with. This is Achilles.
Whoa, Achilles,
He's my
man.
yes.
What does he
He's a
weigh?
red nose. He's just a puppy now. He just turned 11 months old, and he was a gift to me from an incredible breeder in Brazil. He literally flew all the way over here and gave him to me when he was just 4 months old, and tomorrow he goes in for training so he can be my help dog to travel with me around, you know, the world and stuff like that and everything. So Achilles, say hi now and stop bumping
He's
into the
big.
table. Yeah,
He's
he's
big.
a red-nosed pit bull. He's a full breed, so he's an American pit bull. But anyway, um, it was just amazing. And the common denominator is the same wherever I go. There's good, there's bad people, there's ugly, there's beauty, there's money, there's no money. Therefore, we are all the same. And it just doesn't matter around the world. And I think just, you know, I didn't have any idea what we were going to talk about here. But, you know, just like when I first met you, I just let it flow. And, you know, but it's just ugly, all the crap that we go through here, and a lot of times it's not the people, it's the power. And
Yeah.
you know, it's just some really, really hard times all around the world. I'm not going to jump too deep into it and all that stuff, but it's just horrible. You know, I was a police officer. I'm not going to get into the red flag and the blue flag and all that stuff of my country. I'll make it a little broader. You know, there's different divisions of law enforcement there. There's different divisions of law enforcement all over the world. There's different divisions of military. Okay, so I know when I was a law enforcement officer, you know, there's division already. So how can we reunite when there's already division? You know, police officers don't really get along with sheriff officers. Sheriff's officers don't think that highly of police officers because when police officers come into the jail to deliver their victim, you know, they're tough before they come inside the jail. But then when they're inside the jail, they're like, oh, help me, help me. And we're like, oh, you were pretty tough with your badge and a gun with this, unaccused person. Hey, Achilles down, not on that couch, down, down.
And so
Good
you're
boy.
seeing a lot of this conversations around policing, and you're trying to find
Just
some common
yes,
ground with people.
yeah. So it's not that. It's if there's already division, then how can we ever unite? And let's go deeper. You know, a lot of times we talk about the Crips and the blood. It's over a blue and red, right? Means nothing. But I remember a long time ago, it was the red coats are coming. The red coats are coming, fighting against the blue coats. It's very interesting that that color is so prevalent, right? You
Mm.
know, you have the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. There's already division. So how are we ever going to agree on anything? So the same thing with you. If you're there trying to better that country and they're doing there's already divisions. How can that not be just unite? Hey, you know what? Let's see who's the best person for this, who really cares about us, and let's vote for him. It's not that. You have to play this BS, this preliminary BS, this, I gotta win this battle to lose this battle. And that's it's
Yeah.
not just my country or your country, it's all around the world, you know.
Yeah. We need to find a way to play a different game somehow, you know? And it's
We need to
funny,
find
like,
a way to stop playing games,
yeah,
and
yeah,
just be
yeah.
legitimate. Yeah.
Yeah. I spent 10 years broadcasting on London Real, having guys like you sit in that chair for 2, 3 hours. And Flex, I'm telling you, the wisest ones, and you said things like this on your show, at the end, they all say, we are all one. They all say
Yeah.
that, basically, in many ways. It could be Sadhguru, it could be you, it could be a world championship boxer like Chris Eubank, it could be
Yeah.
anybody. And they all
Yeah.
say at the end of it, once they've seen a bunch of stuff, traveled around the world, competed at a high level, loved, lost, whatever it is, they all say, we are all
Right.
one. And there's a mission statement on my back wall here, and it's the mission statement of London Real. And it says, we want to create a mass scale transformation of humanity into a fully empowered, conscious, and cooperative species. We came up with that a few years ago, and we said, what are we actually doing here? And so I believe that through what we do, these long form conversations, that we can find out that we're actually much more similar than we are different. We all
Yeah.
actually want the same things from the human experience, and yet we get caught up in conflict somehow because of powers, institutions, whatever.
100%.
And if we have enough of these conversations, maybe like we used to around the campfire back in the hunter-gatherer days,
Right.
where we would actually listen to people, and you could
Yeah.
have a face-to-face conversation with someone where they weren't digitized and kind of, when you digitize someone, you can make them 2 dimensions and you can stick them on a team. And,
Sure.
we've seen it all happen with the internet, fortunately and unfortunately. Then it's easy to
Right.
create this division, and we're seeing it manifested in so many ways, whether it's in political parties, law enforcement, misunderstanding. So I'm
Right.
trying to change that game and try to bring some of that London Real energy to the politics. it was funny. I had a reporter with me out the other day on my battle bus, and he came in with this microphone that was on a pole, and he kept jabbing it at me, and he had a cameraman behind him, and he was trying to get these shock moments. And
Yeah, trying to provoke you.
yeah, he was, and he's trying to,
Yeah,
it's this whole politics thing, and the media feeds off it, obviously, because then they can
sure.
get a story. And so I'm getting
Yeah,
to understand this whole game, and I'm like, you don't understand. I know my people have been watching me for 10 years. They've seen me struggle. They've seen me talk about my struggles with addiction. They see me try to run an Ironman race. They see me struggle to be a father, to be a leader. I said, these people know who I am, and they're like, oh, but in the polls they say you're nothing. And we went out on the streets, and he jammed the microphone into like 10 people that walked by, and he said, "What do you think of Brian? Everyone says he's this and they're that." And they're like, "No, I've been watching his videos for years, and I really like Brian."
yeah.
And they're like, "But what about this? And what about that?" And they're like, but we know him differently. And so it was this weird vibe that I don't think the media was ready for or politics were ready for, because I'm trying to have a different conversation, Flex. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to say, let's fight, you're wrong, I'm right. I'm like, why don't we just take the whole place to
Talk
the
about
next
it.
level, right? And talk about
Right,
it and
right.
listen. Maybe don't be the quick one to judge, to
Yeah,
vilify, to cancel, but
yeah.
just listen a bit.
It's
I'm not saying,
it
yeah.
it's called quick to listen and slow to speak. I I have a I don't know how I came up with this quote that I have, but I normally go into it for quite a bit, like maybe 5 minutes. And when you're talking about races and stuff like that, 5 minutes is a long time when you're in front of thousands of people. But I'll do the short end of it, and it's
Okay.
I believe in my race. My race was put on this earth to rule over all other races. Everything flying, everything swimming, everything in between. My race is the greatest race. We were given great, great power. And I would go into this about 5 minutes or so. And I would end it by saying, hey, so I want everyone for my race to stand up and give yourself an applause. Obviously, everyone black stands up and goes just sick, crazy, blah, blah, blah. And everyone of every other race sits there and probably looks at me, calling me everything that they can think of. And what I did is I convicted you if you stood up. You proved to me what you were thinking. And everyone who sat down, every race that sat down, I convicted you also because you stayed there and sat down. And what I end up saying at the end is, you misunderstood me. I meant the human race. We're just one race. We were put here to rule over all others. Everything swimming, everything flying, everything in between. And it's the truth. We are just one. And that's just, we've gotten so far away from that. So far away from that,
Yeah.
Brian. And when is the election?
We're 10 days out, Flex. 10 days.
10
Yeah.
days out. Okay. So I will be there at the Arnold Classic Birmingham. So I
Oh,
hope
fantastic.
and I pray that I will get a chance to meet you and shake the new hand of the new mayor.
No, I'm looking forward to it. And that's like in October, I think, right? So hopefully you
Yes, sir.
come by City Hall and see me. I'm really
Yes,
glad
sir.
you're having these conversations about race. I think it's so
Mhm.
important that we have these proactive conversations with people. And I went down to the jungle a couple of years ago and had some plant medicines, and I got told a lot of things, and I got told about what I need to be doing more of and less of, and I got told to go bigger and do more,
Mm.
regardless of the consequences, which is probably why I'm doing this stuff today. But I was also told that we have to look after each other, that
Yeah.
we have to mentor the younger ones, and we forget sometimes, Flex, that we started off as a small group of humans that were barely
Yeah.
able to make it by surviving against the elements and the
Yeah.
animals. And
Yes.
that back then we really did have each other's back. And then as we got bigger, maybe we factioned a bit, and maybe we changed colors a little bit and got some different languages. And we forget that we're basically, like you said, this kind of evolved species that can create or destroy this world. And I don't know. Sometimes we need to remind ourselves of that, and it's hard.
Yeah.
And I hope we can get back there somehow. You know?
Yeah. I was listening to this gentleman. Someone posted it on Instagram, and it was a Caucasian young man, and he was in a store, and his daughter, she was under 12, and she looked at this black family, and she looked up at her father, very innocent, because kids are incredibly innocent and honest. You
Yeah.
know, if your breath stink, they'd be like, your breath stink. You know, it's nothing, it's no animosity behind it. But she looked at her dad and she said, you know, Dad, why are they black? And he looked at him, and obviously the black family turned around and looked in anger, you know, because of everything that's going on here in the United States. But it was amazing what this young man said. He looked at his daughter and he said, "You know, in your bedroom, you have all these beautiful different drawings that you do?" And she was like, "Yeah." And he goes, you know how there are all these various different colors and how beautiful it is?" She goes, "Yeah." And he goes, "Well, that's what God did. He created all these beautiful different colors." He goes, "How bland would it be if your colors were all just the same color on your wall?" And she looked at him, she goes, "Yeah, Dad, you're right." And he goes, "But that's the truth. That's the reason why we have people of all different colors and creeds and sizes and stuff, because it's beautiful. It's beautiful. It's not a derogatory or a negative thing. It's not about that at all. It's a beautiful thing to see such wide diversity of people. And we're meant to be able to get along. That's the way it was before. There's been studies done on this. You take a little, you take a child from every different ethnic group, in their pure form as a baby. They will all play with each other beautifully. It's us, it's the
Yeah.
adults who poison them and cause this, and it continues and it continues. I come from a very um, colorful background. My family, we have everyone of all different colors, straight, gay, so on, everything in my family tree, and it's beautiful. My kids, their mother is half black, half white, so their grandmother is white. Their grandfather, unfortunately, who just passed away, he's black. So they have white uncles and black uncles and everything. So that was so beautiful for my kids because they don't know no other.
Right.
So when they walk out, they see everyone and they identify that could be my aunt or that could be my uncle. And that's a beautiful thing. Yeah, it's just, yeah, it's
It,
just,
it,
it's,
it's a beautiful thing. It's something that we've always celebrated here at London Real. And, I just realized that a lot of people listen to London Real, so that sometimes they're here in this deep conversation for 2 hours. And you know what, Flex, they probably don't even think about what color they are, right? Which, and
yeah,
then maybe they check later and maybe they don't, and it's an incredible way to remind us that we're all having this human experience. It has challenges, like you said. I like that. No
of
dark and
course.
light moments. It has challenges, which
No,
which makes us who we are. And if we can just kind of understand that and try to move forward with that, we have an incredible way to evolve. And we've come so far as a species. I had the Harvard professor Steven Pinker in here, who wrote a book about how far we've come. How violent crime has gone down, and all the poverty's gone down, and the birth rate. All that stuff. We've made some amazing improvements, and we've got a long way to go. So it's just about showing people that light. Sometimes I think is really important. Flex,
yeah,
I gotta ask you a question, because
yes,
I
sir.
watched one of your
Just
recent
one?
YouTube. Well, a few
Just
more,
one
but
question?
a few more. I don't want to keep you too long, but a few more. I mean, I could talk to
No,
you
it's
for
fine.
hours.
It's great.
But I watched one of your videos recently on YouTube, and you went through the process of your amputation, and it was just amazing to see you go through that, and to see this perspective you had at the end, and to see you go through this. And I was watching it from afar, and I kind of watched it in real time as well. And I was wondering if you could walk people through, like, I don't know what happened, and how do you deal with something like that, and how do you come out the other side and still be like you are right now, positive, and I'm still going to travel the world, because that would devastate a lot of people. So I don't know. Can you walk me
Yeah.
through that?
Yeah. Sorry, I still get emotional over it.
Yeah, I appreciate you talking about it.
So even when I was there with you, I was in tremendous pain. It started about 3 years ago, and um, I being a high level elite athlete, I think sometimes it's a double-edged sword, because we're used to going through hell and pain and obstacles. On the other end, we're used to persevering. So the pain that I was going through, I just kept shoving it off. Oh, I must have tore a muscle. Oh, I strained something. And it started getting worse. And it was to the point where I remember I was going to China 2 years ago. Um, and I could take like maybe 30 steps and I would just crumble to the ground. And the pain was just so crazy. And I remember thinking like, I just had an epiphany. I was like, you know, it's just going to be bad, you know, and I literally, and I'm talking about myself, no one else. And I said, wow, I'm going to be a cripple for the rest of my life. And, um, and I kept walking. And I was literally, I'm very much a control freak. I hate it about myself, but I'm a control freak. And the bad thing about that, the more I try to control things, the more I understand that I can't, which makes me try harder. So
Right.
I'm trying to walk without showing any weakness through this airport, all these different international airports, and I can't help it, but I'm sobbing because the pain was so great. So anyway, I come back home, I go back in the gym and I'm training. And finally, I just like, you know, I go to my doctor and I said, you know, something's going on. So he writes me some prescriptions to go have, you know, X-rays done and MRIs and all of that. And it all came back negative. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm like, all right, it's just I must have tore something or strained something, or, you know, I'm just getting old and this is the aches and pains of being old. And as it continued to progress, I'm like, I'm no idiot. I know what pain is. I know when I've done something, this is something worse. So I called my doctor back again and I said, hey, you know, we need to do something more aggressive. This is BS, you know. So sent me to this other doctor. And it's really scary because you start to understand how much doctors don't know shit. And it's
Right.
just, I hate to cuss about it, but, you know, I literally lost my legs because they didn't act fast enough. So
Wow.
anyway, I go to this other doctor, and he looks at all my results from my MRIs and X-rays, and he goes, "Oh, you tore this muscle in your foot that's normal for runners. It happens all the time, and that's the reason why it's happening." And you know, I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "That doesn't make no damn sense, man." You know, and he writes me a prescription for some crap, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay, whatever." And I just go back to training. I'm still traveling the world, and I'm in Brazil, and I just again, I hate showing weakness in front of people, and I'm literally having to sob as I'm walking. So I come back, and I'm really upset. You know, not at my doctor, but I'm really pissed. And he finally says, "Okay, go to the emergency room." I go to the emergency room here in Las Vegas, and it's one of the quote unquote highest level premier hospitals that we have to offer here in Las Vegas, Nevada. They put a boot on my leg and tell me that I sprained something in my calf. They literally put a black boot on my leg so I couldn't walk. And I'm looking at them like, okay, yeah, you guys know more than I do. So, okay. And I wear the boot and I still had this pain. It's now the pain radiates through my right leg regardless, just 24 hours a day, whether I'm walking or not, it's at the same level. And I'm getting ready to go to Australia now. It's for the Honor Classic Australia. Um, and I call my doctor and I'm really pissed now and I'm cussing, not at him, you know, we're close. And I'm cussing like, you know, this is BS, man, you know, blah, blah, blah. We need to find what the F this is going on. So he goes, you know, Flex, we've done everything. You know, let's try an ultrasound. I'm like, whatever, man. Let's whatever, you know, go and have the ultrasound done. And within 5 minutes, she just goes silent and she just stops and she's staring at me. And her eyes start to welt up in tears. And she goes, do you have a stent in your leg? I'm like, no, I don't have a stent in my leg. She goes, are you sure? And I go, yeah, I'm sure. And, you know, her voice is quivering. And I said, you know, what is it that you see? I'm a very emotional person. So I start crying. I go, what is it that you see? And she goes, nothing, you know, nothing. Let me just continue because I can't discuss these things with you. I'm going to finish my job and I'm going to turn results in and, you know, they're going to let you know, they're going to read the results. So she continues. And as she started in my groin area. And as she got down to my calf, she just stopped again. And she looked at me. She goes, "Are you sure you don't have a stent or anything in your leg?" I go, "No, ma'am. I'm sure I have a stent in my groin from my left leg to my right leg due to my kidney surgery. I lost the main artery in my right leg, so they put a graft from my left leg to my right leg. So literally, even now, my right leg feeds my left leg blood, or else I would have lost it, 17 years ago at my kidney transplant. So I go, I have a stent there, but I graft there, but I don't have one in my calf." And she goes silent again, and just she's really quiet, and tears are coming down her eyes. So I'm like, "God, please tell me, what in the world do you see that's causing you to respond like this?" And she just looks at me. She goes, "Either you have a stent or a graft in your calf, or I'm looking at the biggest blood clot I've ever seen in my life."
Wow. Wow.
And I just lose it. And she loses it. And she goes, "I'm going to stop here. I got to call this in stat. You got to stay right here. Let me go to the doctor. We need to notify them immediately." So I laid there for like 30 minutes, and they say, "Okay, that we're going to release you. Your doctor's aware of it. He's going to be contacting you with the next move." So I'm driving home like Tom Cruise in a Vanilla Sky, just like I'm there, but I'm not there. And I pull up in my driveway, and my doctor called me, and he goes, "Where are you?" Very urgent voice. I'm like, "I'm in my car, man. I just pulled into my garage." And he goes, "Jesus, I'm shocked you even made it home, Flex." I'm like, "Okay, enough. What's going on, man? Tell me what the is going on." He's like, "Flex, you have a blood clot." I'm like, "Okay." He goes, "No, you don't understand. You have a life-threatening blood clot. You need to get down here. I'm going to put you on blood thinners immediately, and hopefully that can, break the blood clot up." And I'm like, "Doc, I'm flying out of here in less than 74 hours." And he goes, "Where are you going?" I go, "I'm going to Australia." And he goes, "Listen, don't get on that flight." I go, "No, you don't understand. You don't understand. My ticket, it's, and not being arrogant, or I'm just being honest. My ticket is first class to Australia. We're talking a little over $12,000. They already paid that. They already paid me half of my fee. If I don't show up, I'm getting my ass sued from some large amount of monies, not to mention the money that they spent, but also I'm going to be sued on the money that they're going to lose if I don't show up." And he goes, "Flex, don't get on that flight." I go, "No, no, no. I'm innocent. I don't know." I go, "No, doc, you don't understand. It's one of those first class, Airbuses where the seat lays all the way down, 90-degree angle. I'll just lay low flight."
I lost your audio just for a second.
Sorry about that, all the viewers and
Okay.
everything. But
That's right.
anyway, so I go, "I'm gonna lay down and I'll get up and I'll walk around." And he goes, "Okay, I see you're hard headed. I'll just be honest with you. You get on that flight, you're not going to get off the same way you got on." And I'm like, what do you mean by that? And he goes, "That's all I'm going to say. You get on that flight, you're not going to get off the same way you got on. Don't get on that flight. If I was your brother, your sister, your father, your auntie, if I was your family member, I would not let you get on that flight, Flex." And I go, "Doc, I got to be honest with you. I'll think about it. I'll think about it, man. A lot has happened. This is a very big payday for me. I'm the breadwinner in my entire family tree. There's a lot leaning on me. I have to work. I have to produce." And I got off the phone with him, and my oldest daughter, Brandy, had called me just ironically, and I was in tears. And she's like, "Daddy, what's going on?" You know. And I told her, and she started crying. She's like, "Daddy, don't get on that flight."
Wow.
And again, I was like, "Brandy, I'll be honest with you, sweetheart. I'm not sure. I still might go." And she's like, "Daddy, please don't get on that flight." And I said, "I'm not going to lie to you. I don't want to lie to you. I'm not sure. I'm going to think about it really hard." And I got off the phone with her, And I walked in the house, and my house has stairs. It's a two-story, and I walked upstairs and just I crumbled at the top of the stairs because the pain was so great. And I ended up making it to my bedroom, and I sat on the bed and I grabbed my suitcase and I started trying to pack. And I was like, and I just stopped because the pain was so great. I literally laid down and fell asleep crying, thinking to myself, dude, if you can't freaking pack your suitcase, how are you going to walk through an airport? You know, how
Right.
are you going to walk through a massive expo? How are you going to do that for freaking 5 effing days? And I fell asleep and I woke up, and it's just by the grace of God because I'm just a knucklehead, right? I'm just a
Right.
freaking knucklehead.
So that
I
flight
woke,
could have killed you, basically.
what he was getting at, I would have died on the flight. I would have died.
Yeah.
I would.
Yeah.
That's what he was saying. That I wouldn't have got off the same way.
And
So to wrap it up, when I woke up about 12 hours later, I was in such crazy pain. My entire right leg was numb. My junk was numb. My right arm was completely numb. And I
wow.
got on the phone with my doctor immediately. I told him, he goes, get to the hospital immediately. I'm like, why? These freaking idiots. They put a boot on my. He said, Flex, just get to the office. I don't, get to the ER. I'm going to call them, let them know you're on your way. Um, um, just get there. I go, what do I tell him? He goes, tell him you have a DVT. I'm like, what the does that mean? He goes, dude, you don't have time to be on the phone with me. So in my ignorance, right, it's about 10:30 at night. I'm like, shit, I'm gonna probably be there for a while. So I stopped by Burger King and got some food. Anyway, I got to the hospital. Um, they had to actually wheel me in on a wheelchair because I couldn't walk. And the security guard recognized. He goes, "Let me just wheel you to the back so everybody don't see you and all that." They got me back there, and obviously I'm in tears. So they're like, first thing we're going to do, we're going to IV you and get you out of pain because we can tell the pain is just beyond your capability of handling. So they ended up also doing my blood pressure. My blood pressure was 205 over 210.
Oof. I didn't
So
know that
they
was
did
even
that.
possible.
Yeah, it's been a little higher before that for another reason, but um, so first nurse did my blood pressure. She walked in with two nurses, did it. They both stared at me. They walked out. Five more nurses came in, did it again. They walked out. Nurses and doctors of I don't know how many walked in, and they're staring at me, and they're doing my blood pressure. And they goes, "How do you feel?" I said, "I feel like hell, man. I can't believe the pain I'm in." He goes, so anyway, long story short, they rushed me upstairs immediately. I had to sign a consent to be hospitalized, and they didn't even tell me what was going on. They just said, you're in a bad way. One of my closest friends I had a security system where I can see if somebody approaches my house, and so anyway, he showed up at about 11 o'clock with a pizza because he knew I was in pain. So I'm looking at my phone like, what are you doing with a pizza at my house, And
And so
so he ended up coming to.
do they have the surgery that night, or was it like
No,
days
so
before?
this is in March, and I'll speed up because it's such a long story. So long story short, they induced me into a coma so they can do what they call these blood clots procedures, busters, where they take some type of drill and go into my main artery and try to free the blood clot. I was supposed to only be in a coma for a few hours, and I was in a coma for 10 days. Um,
Wow.
One of my friends overheard them saying, "This guy's not going to make it," and he got mad at her, like, "I don't know, could you say that?" He could probably hear you. Anyway, so I was
Wow.
in hospital for 4 months. I was in a coma for 10 days, and they did all these surgeries trying to save my leg. They ended up doing where they went into both sides of my calf and took both of my arteries out and put cadaver arteries in there, trying to save my leg. Actually, I actually posted a video a long time ago of that actual doctor saying, "I think we saved it."
Wow.
Anyway, fast forward, I continued to be in pain while I was in the hospital. And again, I just said, I'm not going to have my leg too much longer. It was just something that came over me. So that was in March. I probably went to the emergency room probably over 40 times just because of pain. So they were very familiar with what I was going through. The last time I went to the hospital, the doctor took me to the ER and said, "Hey, listen, I'm just going to be honest with you, Flex. come here whenever you're in pain. We'll get you out of pain and we'll send you home. But there's nothing else we can do until it's time to take it. I was like, take what? He goes, until you give us permission to take your leg. And he started crying. The doctor in ER started crying. I started crying. He goes, I know this is hard for you, Flex, because I'm aware of everything you achieved. So this isn't just a regular person who's looking at losing her leg, you know, everything you've done in life. So um, I was starting my nutrition company. So I had to fly from Las Vegas to Billings, Montana. And it was just too much for me walking. And I was able to complete my meeting, and I couldn't even walk to the airport. I kept stopping, and one of my colleagues was with me. He's like, Flex, how are you? And I was supposed to be leaving to go to Dubai the next day for a month, to Dubai a month. And he
Yo,
goes, Flex, how the F are you going to do that? And you can't even walk to the airport. So I sat down at my gate. I just came to realization, Jesus, when I get back to Vegas, I'm going straight to the ER. So I even got scared. I'm like, damn, I remember the doctor telling me months ago, if I get on that flight, I might not make it. But I'm in Billings, Montana. I'm like, I'm not sure if they have a high quality enough hospital to do this there. So I got on the flight and I just prayed. By the grace of God, I made it to Vegas. I drove right to the hospital. Obviously, they knew who I was. They took me into ER immediately. I told them my pain. They did MRIs. About an hour later, they walked in the room, and it was a nurse. It was a doctor. She was a female, and she just stared at me. Her eyes were welling up in tears, and she just said, "Flex, we're there. We're at that time."
wow.
I just said, "Take it." She goes, "You sure?" I'm like, "Take it. Just take it."
Wow.
And she goes, "Okay." And I go, on top of that, if it's that big. So what happened is the cadaver veins that they put in on my right side of my calf, it was 100% blocked. On the left side of my calf, it was 90% blocked. And when she explained, I go, well, if it's really that bad, couldn't it break free and kill me? She goes, yeah, you're right. So that's how that whole situation happened. I just said, take it, you know, and in my ignorance, I thought that by them taking it, the pain would go away. I had no idea that the pain would be worse than I ever imagined. So now I'm in pain 24 hours a day. So it's been going on for 3 years now that I've been in
Wow.
pain, 24 hours, 7 days. And I kid you not, I put my hand on the Bible. You know, I'm not lying. I stay between a level 7 and a level 10 all day long. And when I'm at a level 7, I'm just jumping for joy. I'm so happy. How crazy is that to say? That
Wow.
a level 7 makes me feel like I'm in heaven. Because when I'm at those 8s, 9, and 10, all I can do is lay in bed and I just sob and I just pray and I say, hey, it went away before. A level 7 is somewhere around the corner. Maybe it's the next hour, the next day, or the next week. And I literally lay in bed and I just deal with it until I hit a 7 or a 6. And I'm just like jumping for joy. And I try to go on throughout my day.
Wow. Flex, how do you stay positive? Where's the lesson in all this? Like, I didn't realize the pain was still there. How are you able even to stay positive through all this? And what's the
Well,
lesson, do you think, that's trying to be
yep,
sent to you?
yep,
And
understood
how
the
do you keep
question.
that perspective, man? Seriously.
Um, so I've been through a lot, you know, kidney transplant. You know, like I said on your show, you know, my kidney transplant, I had 9 surgeries in 11 weeks that I almost died from. I was on Oxycontin. Had an epidural drip in my back, and I had a Demerol pump, and I was still screaming in pain for months. They literally had to take me from my hospital and put me into a mental institution because I lost it mentally because of all of the drugs I was on. I've had knee surgeries. I had back surgeries. I lost count before this happened. I lost count, but I was up to 60 procedures that I had in my life. So I've had a rough life, like I said on your show, you know, molested, homeless, beaten, all of this crap. So while I lay there waiting for them to take my leg, I said, hey, everything you've been through has been preparing you for this. You're fighting, martial arts, bodybuilding, the hardcore, the dedication, everything you've been through has been preparing you for this battle. You're ready. You're ready. And while I was in a hospital, the extraordinary doctors and nurses, I don't know if they Googled me after a while, but they would just come in the room and they'd say, hey, you're going to do greater than you ever have before. You think you've done great. And I would look at them and I'm like, how could you say that? I'm like half a man now. But I had this epiphany come over me, and I just said, you know what? Um, Man, I'm going to take my name and this global recognition I've gained, and I'm just going to bring awareness to amputees, the hell that we have to go through. You know, all that. I'm going to try to, and I'm still working on these things. I'm going to try to create a nonprofit organization to help amputees, and not just amputees, but people who are suicidal, people who are handicapped in various different ways mentally, and all these veterans. This is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm meant to do. I don't want to be known as Flex Wheeler, this legend, as somebody who's done all these great things as an athlete, because who gives two about that? You got so many people out there that are rich, movie stars, have everything, and they're just pure assholes. So I don't want to be known as a legend. I want to be known as a person who just loved people, who cared about people, and so on. So that's what keeps me going. I have my dark times. I'm not going to lie to you that I have my dark times, that I have arguments with the man upstairs. I asked him why and everything. But, you know, like my dad, certain things my dad did, which my father in heaven, you know, my dad here on earth, certain things he did, they're not my business. I'm a child.
Yeah.
He's an adult. There's certain things that he does that is not my business. It's not for me to understand. And that's what I've taken. Um, at the end of the day, where do I get my strength from? First and foremost, him. Secondly, dude, I'm not the only one. Yeah, I get it. I'm probably one of the most profound, achieved athletes to probably have to go through something like this. I get that, but I'm not the only one. I
Yeah.
followed this one kid. He's 8 years old. He's a double amputee. He'll never know what it's like to walk. I've been blessed to have people from all over the world send me messages on Instagram, sharing their stories about what they went through, what to expect. And the common denominator is, man, I just got to go through it. The first day I got home from the hospital of my amputation, I made a decision at night I was going to go cold turkey, that I wasn't going to take any more of the opiates. While I was in the hospital, I hallucinate horribly because I have a kidney transplant. I get toxic really quick. And I said,
Right.
you know what? And I have weapons in my home. Okay. For anyone who like to come to my home, I have weapons in my home.
Welcome
And
to
you guys seen
America.
my videos. I'm a surgeon with mine. Anyway, joking, but I'm not joking. But anyway, um, I said I have to have my brain because I
Yeah.
can't be hallucinating here with people in my home.
Yeah.
Um, so I just went cold turkey. And I went through my demons. When I woke up the next morning, like I said, I have stairs. And when you walk downstairs, you don't look over the banister and see how far that is of a drop. That was the first time I did that. And I realized if I fall down one of these stairs, it's a wrap. I have crutches to walk down. I'm right leg dominant. I lost my right leg. So the first thing I would do, I would slam my leg down and stop it. It happened in the hospital. I was in my wheelchair going to the bathroom after my amputation, and I'm standing up and I'm so shaky and weak, I slip and fall. What do? I take my right leg and I try to stop it. And as I'm doing it, I scream because I realize it ain't nothing there. And the sound of my flesh hitting the ground and the pain was just so. Anyway, when I came home and I woke up the next morning, it really hit me. The man down there really went to work on me. Man, you're half a man. You ain't shit no more. You ain't gonna never. You worthless. Look at you, one legged. And I got downstairs and I looked. I'm like, Jesus, because I have pictures of my family, my kids in my house, and pictures of me. And I was looking at the pictures and I'm like, Jesus, how beautiful it is to have two legs. My God, that's a picture with my son. Look at my legs. Pictures of me competing. Look at my legs. And I just lost it. I just sobbed. And my wife at the time, she's like, you know, Flex, you're going to get through this. You're going to be okay. And then she stopped. She's like, you know what? I'm going to shut up because I don't know what you're going through. And I just lost it. And I had anxiety, and I went out the door, and I was sitting on my couch outside, and I said, it's okay. It's okay. I have to go through the bowels of hell and deal with all of these emotions. If I really want to be a
Yeah.
spokesperson for other amputees and other people who've been through hell, I have to go through all of this and conquer it. If I'm going to sit through if I'm going to sit in front of someone who's want to take their life because they lost a limb or anything, or they're just going through hell pain, I got to be able to look at them in their eyes, connect with them on a deep level, and say, I know what you've been through. I know what you're going to go through. I've been there. So I have to embrace all this if I'm going to be able to help other people. My greatest desire is to help other people. So I embrace it. I
Wow.
embrace it, bro. I have
Wow.
to. And I remember I'm not the only one. At least I got one leg.
Yeah.
I got I have a great sponsor. I don't have to pay for any of this. I have a sponsor who pays for everything. While I was in a hospital, Shaquille O'Neal contacted me and said, hey, bro, don't worry about it. I got you. I'm going to take care of everything.
Wow.
Luckily, a sponsor came forward and took care of everything. Um, I only have one leg missing. There's people with two legs missing. There's people with
Yeah.
two legs and two arms missing.
Yeah.
So, Hannah, F, can I be up there and pity myself? Now, really quickly, I was in a month before I got the award at the Olympia. I was in a hospital for a month. And at that time, they told me, you didn't lose your leg from a blood clot. You lost your leg because you have peripheral artery disease and peripheral vascular disease. And I'm like, how in the hell could that happen? I've been an elite athlete since I was 11 years old. I've always taken care of myself. How? And he goes, we're dumbfounded. Normally, you might have one of these, but it's very rare that you have both. I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, you're at risk of losing all your limbs. I go, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Wow.
they ran some tests. So all the things they done to save my leg and they amputated every main artery in my right groin is blocked going all the way through my leg. And they told me the only reason you're able to even keep your residual leg is because your body has created collateral veins throughout your leg. That's how you're able to keep it. But you're at risk of losing your other leg. You're at risk of losing your right leg, your arms. You're at risk. And I lost it again, obviously.
Wow.
And they left the room, and I had to sit there and contemplate for days. And I just said, you know what? My kids don't care about that. They just want their daddy here.
Yeah.
So if that's the worst that can happen to me, is losing my limbs, that's all right.
Wow,
And I
man.
asked him, I go, can I lose my life over this? And he goes, no, the worst can probably happen is you lose your legs and your arms. And I'm like, all right, so be it. So that's the life that I live now. And, I'm still looking forward to traveling. I just said to myself, hey, if, the quote unquote Grim Reaper comes knocking on my door, I'm not going to be here to answer, man. I'm going to be out living my life. He's going to have to wait till I get back home because
Flex,
I'm
man.
not perfect, Bryant. I have horrible demons that I deal with, unthinkable things that I deal with, normal things that a man deals with, the thoughts and everything, not to mention everything else that I've been through. I'm not perfect, man. I'm not trying to sit here and act like I'm freaking, Godzilla or King Kong in a human flesh. Nope, I'm nowhere near that. But death ain't the worst thing that can hurt me, man. I'm sorry. I don't fear the man who can take my life. I fear the one who can take my life and my soul. That's who I fear. So if that's all they can bring to me is death here, that's okay. Because in my belief, I'll live again by the blessings if he allows me to. There's not a single thing I can do here to get it past to go. It'll be by his grace because I'm a
Yeah.
derelict. I struggle. So, Bryant, that's the long and short end of how I exist, how I continue to try to be positive, and so on. Because it's a bigger plan, and I think that's my calling to be able to do that.
What an incredible perspective, Flex, you know. And look, thank you for telling that story. I know it's not easy, and this is what makes you great. This is why I love you, man, because you're willing to go there. And you did it in the leather chair when you were in London, and you're doing it right now. And I mean, you have an observation of life that most people won't get until the dying breaths they have, whenever it is, where they'll realize, oh my gosh, I was ungrateful for most of my life. I never valued what I had. I never had that perspective. And yet, you know, every day you could lose more and you've lost stuff. And now you're like, wow, look at these wonderful things I have, you know? And if you're not having conversations with the man upstairs on a regular basis, then you're not really growing or
Yeah,
contributing to this planet, are you? You know, if
yeah,
you're just watching Netflix and eating Cheetos every day, you're not really living a life. So the fact you're having conversations with a man upstairs saying, are you serious? Like, what the hell? Why are you giving me? Why are you putting me through this? Like,
yeah.
and if you're not having conversations with the man downstairs as well, I got to feel that maybe you're not living the life that's going to contribute so much.
Yeah,
And
because at the end of the day, Brian, he knows my every thought. I would be lying if I tried to say, "Oh, I'm okay. Yeah, I got it." No, he already knows. So I might as well be open to have those open dialects with him, respectfully, right? Very respectfully. I'm aware who I'm having that dialect with, but I might as well be honest with him. And you know, um, there's all these great saying, he doesn't put on anything on you that you can't handle,
right,
this other quote, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. I'm like, yeah, or put you in a hospital, it does. So when you say all those things, it doesn't make it any easier.
yeah,
My son, Darius, who lives with me now, um, he watches some of my videos that I post, and he doesn't say much. He hardly ever comments on my posts or anything, but he said, one of your greatest strengths is, um, I'm trying to think of the word that he used, but my ability to be honest and vulnerable. He said, it's one of your greatest strengths. And he said, God doesn't put things on you that you're not able to handle. And the things that I'm going to do moving forward is going to be extraordinary. And I just, for him to have that insight. And again, I get so much support. I get support from you. I get support from people on a world that I don't know. But that brings me back, circle back to, that's why I have the need to help other people, because, you know, I, I I told myself when I got home, I taught myself how to drive, without a leg. I would hop around my car and grab my wheelchair out of my trunk and open it up and go and train in the gym. And I just said, I'm not going to allow my body to imprison me. I would drive down to California with just no leg before I had my socket and everything. And I go and see my family, and I just said, I'm not going to be handicapped. I'm not going to allow this that happened to me to limit me in anything that I do. Um, but in doing so, driving around here in hot Vegas and seeing homeless people, and seeing homeless people in wheelchairs with a double amputee or a single amputee, and I'm like, they don't have the help I have. They don't
right.
have the support I have. Now, literally, obviously, you know, uh, get very emotional over it. And that's why I have to do what I have to do. I have to bring awareness. I haven't figured out, I don't understand the business aspects of opening up a nonprofit organization. I've spoke to some doctors already, and they said, hey, here in the United States, when you use a leg, you can't reuse it when we make you a new one. So I'm on my ninth leg now because my leg starts to shrink and everything. But we'll donate those to you to give to other people because other countries will accept them. Man, I have to, because
Yeah,
I have so much support. I have to help people who don't have
yeah.
that type of support. I have to.
Flex, I know you maybe heard things like this before, but I'm going to say it. And again, I've spoken to over 1,000 people, and so I've been around, right? But I think this is maybe the reason you're here on this planet. You know, I think this is the way you maybe show people the strength that we have inside of us. You know, I think when I watched that video of you, it was more powerful than watching the videos of you in the 90s on stage, because I see here a man, here's a man who is willing to go through this thing. And I didn't even know about the pain. I didn't even know about the details. I just saw someone who can overcome something that I can only imagine is devastating. And yet you're doing it and moving forward. You're doing it and talking about it and being honest. I mean, this takes the flex wheeler we knew and almost exponentially grows who you are as a man and a contributor to the earth. It really does, you know. And I'm sure you see that sometimes in yourself, but maybe it's important that I say that right now, because
No, I appreciate it.
I think this could be your greatest moment ever, and
And
what you do in the
ironically,
next few years,
yeah,
you know?
ironically, the doctors and nurses and many friends and families who said, you know, even my daughter Brandy, she's like, Daddy, you have no idea. You're going to do such greater things. I think these are the things, you know, I'm not biblical and I'm not a Bible thumper. I have my beliefs and no one can rock my thoughts and my belief. But, you know, in a Bible that I read, it says, you know, a light was not meant to be put underneath the bed. It was meant to be put on the highest point so it can light things up. So, you know, again, I have to be brutally honest. Is it rough? It buckles me sometimes. It was just actually last week I was in bed for a little bit over 24 hours because my pain level had jumped up to 10. I'm like, what the hell? And I had dark thoughts. I was talking to my friends who are nurses and doctors, and I didn't mean it, but you know, I was like, I'm ready to put a bullet in my head, you know, because this is just so mind buckling. And you know, I was at the brink of going to the emergency room or putting a bullet in my head. I go, these are my two options, a bullet or go to the hospital. So I called the doctor who's always been helping me. And he said, you know, please let me prescribe some opiates to you just to get you out of this point. And I had to conceive out of 2 years of not taking any painkillers whatsoever. I can't take over counter stuff because I have a kidney transplant. But I said, okay, man. And I took one and it just took the edge off. It brought me back down to 7. I'm like, let's go. I'm ready to
Yeah,
go. And I
yeah,
just came from Arizona where I was doing more work. But, you know, everyone's life is difficult. Everyone goes through something. And what people go through individually is the worst that they can go through. I don't compare what I've been through on anyone else. One of my great friends, and you'll know who he is, Mickey Rourke. You know, he contacted me immediately after this happened. He's like, Flex. He goes, for a man who, you know, fought at a high level, who over half his life been trying to better his body. He goes, I couldn't do it. I would check out. And I'm like, it just broke my heart. Ronnie Coleman, who's been through so many surgeries, he's like,
yeah.
I couldn't do it, Flex. I go, but Ronnie, you've been through almost as many. He goes, yeah, Flex, but I haven't lost nothing, man. It's different. You know, talking to Terry Crews, and I didn't know that he had watched all my videos and everything. And he was in tears over the phone. He goes, man, I don't know what to say.
Look at that. You're inspiring the greats. Isn't that
I
great?
just, I just, I just want to help people, man. So,
Yeah,
you know, it ain't about, and I almost shy away and get annoyed. And I don't mean it's in a bad way of accolades because, man, it ain't about me. It's
yeah,
about people who just don't have this like I do. And I haven't figured out how to do the nonprofit organization because it's a huge undertaking to do it right. Not this
yeah.
BS where you're just making money and funneling it through to have a better life. I'm trying to figure all that out, but I got to figure it out and be able to help other people. And again, Brian, as we bring this to a close, because I know it's been long, I'll spend all day, but you got to finish your job at running for mayor because I'm going to be upset if you don't make it. But, you know, our common denominator on this planet is we've all been through things, and we just need to join forces and help people. We need to help each other, man. You know, every day that we're here, we're closer to our demise. And, you know, the greatest thing that I can do, however much time I have left, whether it's 2 minutes after we get off this phone or 2 billion years later, I feel the draw and a need to be able to help people. That's what makes me happy. Not money, not women, not jewelry, not cars, not anything. Just giving back. And you know what? Giving back is draining. I got to be very careful in having interviews like this. I have tons of people and they're going to be upset because I put you ahead of a lot of people. But I respect who you are in our friendship, but I have probably 10 or 20 podcasts waiting in the wings. But I got to be careful because I used to do a lot of them back to back, and it's draining and it
Yeah.
takes me sometimes into a dark place, and it's hard to get out of that. So
Yeah.
I have friends and pastors that I talk to who sends me scriptures and that I can go to because it takes its toll when you give yourself like this. There's a reason why great leaders, after a few years, they're gray and they're aged. Come on, man. When you're dealing
Yeah.
with other people's problem, it's draining. But you know what? I take on that responsibility. I will endure that responsibility. And yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Flex, I really appreciate you talking about this. And you know, um, I've had people on my show sometimes that tell me this story for the thousandth time, and there's nothing in there. It's almost like a riddle when they tell it. And I also know people when they tell me something that they don't talk about very often, and people can
Mm,
feel it, and that's what actually helps them learn learn about their
yeah,
own lives. And so, I appreciate you going into depth here. I appreciate so many observations you made about the service. I'm actually a naturally introverted kind of guy. So
me too.
when I go out on the streets and talk to people, 20, 25 people in, like
You're drained.
it's yeah, it's like one of those video games or something. I'm really low, but I'm
Yeah.
also thinking this is still the greatest thing I can do because I'm being of service to these people. So this last 9 months has been draining. It's been a test from the man upstairs and the man
Yes, sir.
downstairs, but also I know it's the thing I must do
Yeah.
because I just know I have to do this. And I told my wife this when I told her I was going to run. I said, darling, I can't not do this. That's just the way it is. And it's sometimes the hardest job or the hardest thing you have to do in this world is the only thing you should do.
Yeah.
It's not about cutting corners in this life. And so,
No.
you telling that story was powerful. You got me flashbacks to my dark days of addiction and, and heroin addiction in New York in 2001. I mean, Flex, I thought those were such dark periods of my life that there would never be anything good that came from those days of loneliness, of darkness, of self-abuse, of self-esteem down into the toilet. I thought there's nothing that could ever good come from this, Flex. And yet when I shared it with the world in my movie, it became, like you said, this source of light that wasn't under the bed. It was way up here, and it inspired so many people. So of all the pain you're going through right now, Flex, and the stuff you've shared with me in the past, it's now somehow magnified to become this source of light. And like you said, if you weren't doing the hard yards of the pain every day, it wouldn't be such a bright light. you know, and I know that's not a consolation for what you're going through, but it's so true,
Sure it
man.
is.
Yeah,
Sure it
maybe
is.
this is the greatest thing you're going to give to this planet, this race, this human race, as you would say. Um, and you're becoming more powerful every day, Flex. I'm telling you. You were here 3 years ago, and people in the comments are saying, "I remember that episode. It's an amazing episode.
Right.
It
Yeah.
put me to
I'm
tears."
reading some of them as
And
I'm
people
listening to
are
you.
now saying, "Look, this guy's on another level." And so, again, I can't wait to see you again.
Yes, sir.
When you get back to the UK, we're going to sit down, hopefully, for another combo in City Hall. I'm taking everything to City Hall. London Real's moving to City Hall because,
Hey.
again, I'm going to be mayor of a city of 9.5 million people. I can't think of a better hour and 20 minutes for the citizens of London to hear than speaking with you, Flex Wheeler, because this is the stuff that will change people's lives. It's
Yeah.
gratitude is attitude. It's a perspective that will make them treat their life like a brand new day, treat their fellow man or woman like a person that could be going through similar pain. I mean, these are the lessons maybe a leader needs to give to the citizens more
I
than
agree.
anything.
I
So
agree. I
some
agree.
powerful stuff, man. I think we're making a big change, and
Yes,
um,
sir.
I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all the word of support, and I appreciate everything you've been going through, man. I'm sending you lots of love and power and energy from London. So if that pain drops from a 10 to an 8 or a 7, maybe it's coming from us over here one of these days.
Hey, I I love being there, and in your country. I I'm a, I love history, and your country that you're in is the beginning of history. Good and bad and ugly. It's the beginning of history, and I love that. I love being able to go to your country and touch buildings that are ancient and ancient years older than the country I live in, that I was born in. And I just want to say this, and you can record it and use it. Hi, my name is Flex Wheeler. I endorse Bryant Rose. If you have any respect for anything I've done or any reason to think I make good judgment or support me, please support him. I look forward to coming and seeing you, Bryant. I pray to God that his will is done and his will is for you to be mayor. And if I can in any way help in any way there, please let me know. I look forward to seeing you guys again. And this whole plandemic, scamdemic, damdemic, pandemic, whatever it truly is, I just hope that at the end of the day that it brings us closer and understand we are people. Listen, we live the same way and we die the same way. Stop believing the BS that we're different. We are not different. We are more similar than you can ever imagine. Even way across the pond, we are so much more alike than you can ever imagine. I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting him, supporting me, and being a part of this Instagram Live. I love you all. One love. Thank you so much.
I love you, Flex Wheeler. Thank you, brother. I appreciate everything. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate your support. All right. We're
Thank
sending you
you.
tons of positive energy, and I'll see you here in the UK soon. All right.
Yes, we're working on my flight right now, so I'm gonna send it over and hopefully we can get together, brother.
Awesome. I love it. All right. Thank you to everybody for being here. Go check this man out. Go watch some of those videos. It's really deep and powerful stuff. Follow this man's journey. I'm going to be watching with big eyes over here. So
Yeah.
thank you, Flex. I much appreciate you,
Thank you.
brother. All right.
Thank you. Bye
All
bye.
right. Peace. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.